This is the Fantasy Roadshow.
Welcome in to another episode of the Fantasy Roadshow. This episode is brought to you by Rule 1 Proteins. If you're looking to get back in the gym or you're looking to re-up your supplement game, go check out Rule 1 Proteins. They got the best protein powder, the best supplements, the best vitamins, you name it, they got it. Go check them out at www.rule1proteins.com. Thank you for checking out the video. Please like and subscribe to the channel. You guys know the drill. My name is Truck. I'm joined as always by Culls and Shane O'Mac. And today we are talking free agent predictions. Boys, how you doing? We haven't had an episode with just the three of us in a while, so I'm glad to kind of get back to our roots a little bit. But Culls, how you doing, buddy?
Yeah, I'm doing great. I am as well. When you were listing off the things that Rule 1 sells, I was thinking about the Pac McAfee show. What do they do whenever they list things off? They say like, what? Yeah, that was going through my head. I haven't watched that show in a while, but that was going through my head.
They're back today after a 2-week hiatus, so that was fun to watch. But yeah,
very
Shane,
good.
how you doing?
Doing well. News last night. I don't know if you guys saw. Rest in peace, Chris Mortensen.
Mort,
long time guy I grew up watching before there was Twitter, getting my news from. So.
Give us a little rundown of Mort, because I mean, we're going to talk about you being a little bit more aware back in the day. Mort for me, yeah. So
it was like Mort and Clayton, like those were the two game news breaking guys in baseball and football, and that was it. So, but yeah,
Clayton used to do the skits, the ESPN skits, right?
Mom!
Yeah, I remember.
So but yeah, it reminded me of a not so proud moment in my life, where a fantasy league that I was a member of for 3 years. I was in a Deadpool fantasy league, where
what?
A Deadpool fantasy league.
What is that?
We would draft people who we thought maybe would pass this life on Earth during the calendar year, and the person.
Wait a second.
What?
We would draft guys.
That you would think were about to die.
Would in the next 12 months in the calendar year, and then the winner would get money thrown into the pot and everything.
Okay.
And we always said we weren't rooting for death. We would just celebrate their life at the end of the year. That we did it, and and me, I go hardcore anything fantasy. So, it was, I had a spreadsheet, and, I'm looking up who's got, what type of illnesses. And
oh my God,
you'd have people like Hugh Hefner on there always, Muhammad Ali on there. So I did that for like 3 years. And like after the third year, and I never won, but I was like, you know what? I probably don't need this karma in my life. I'm gonna do this.
I am flabbergasted. This is the first I've ever heard of this, and all I can say is, wow, that is a fantasy degenerate if I've ever heard of one.
Yeah,
that is wild. Wow, who was drafting Charlie Sheen? Was he being drafted at the time?
Charlie Sheen was on there. You know what else? Every year, my draft strategy, because we'd have like 5 people. You'd have 5 people.
A Shane O'Mac shocker of the week. You get at least one shocker.
No, my strategy.
Shane O'Mac heart attack of the week.
My strategy was always to have a older professional wrestler, because almost every year you see all those guys, because of all the steroids and alcohol and drugs, a Roddy Piper, you see people like that kind of go. So I always try to look for a professional wrestler older. The Queen was on there every year. People thought they thought, okay, this is her year. And she kept going on. She kept going on
for years.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
that is outstanding. I definitely have a darker side of humor, so I would appreciate that and join that. I think it'd be fairly kind of enjoyable. But again, I don't like to, share that part of myself with everyone.
So we'd like to announce another listener league. You guys can get in the Deadpool Fantasy Roadshow fantasy league. So
yeah, that's interesting. Very, very interesting with that. I recently saw Dune last night. Dune 2. That was cool.
That? Yeah,
it was awesome.
Did it live up to the hype?
So yes, the movie was outstanding. I'm gonna go see it again at an AMC theater. I went to this place called Alamo Draft House. No free ads, but I'm actually gonna kind of trash it. So I did enjoy it. It's one of those like you're watching a movie in a restaurant, or they have like a full restaurant, full bar. So like a full theater with all of that. Like I almost think people think they're going to get food at the theater type of thing, right? They're not going to be as much as do both. So psychologically, I felt like people had to order food and drinks the whole time. So there's servers just the entire time going crazy throughout the theater. And like, I didn't really like that. My ADD doesn't really follow, so yeah, I was distracted. At one point I was like didn't know if I was going to make it, but I was able to calm down and still enjoy the movie. But I'm definitely going to go back to see, I like the dark, quiet, movies on. Everyone shuts the fuck up and is there to tune into the screen. So I'm going to go back and see it again on AMC and get a little bit more deeper into the movie. But yeah, it was outstanding. I'd be interested to read the books.
So did I hear this right, that the Star Wars is based off of Dune, the Star Wars movies?
Yeah, there is a connection there, which I don't want to botch it for any sci-fi. If there's any sci-fi fanatic listeners, I don't want to botch what the relationship is. But Dune is thought of as the greatest sci-fi novel series of all time. And I think it was somehow connected with Star Wars originally.
Okay.
So I think this is going to be the thing of the next, 10 years, maybe not 10, but however long it takes them to crank out, 6 books worth of movies.
That's a lot. That's a lot of material.
The first 2 movies were the first book. So, and I guess it did an outstanding job following suit. So it'll be interesting. I loved it. I definitely would consider myself a big Dune fan. I will be tuning into all of them, and I'm going to go back and see it again probably this week.
Okay. All right. I'll give you an update once I see it. I'll let you know. I'm not a big Dune guy myself. I didn't like the first movie, so I'm a little jaded.
Which is so disappointing to me because a lot of my friendship with Truck over the years, fantasy, of course, being a huge part, but he was always my go-to for music and entertainment, TV shows a lot, but also movies kind of coincide with that. Yeah. So to hear him not be a Dune guy was a little odd and upsetting, I would say.
Shane, what was the really slow Star Wars movie? Was that it was considerably that people say it's the worst Star Wars out of the entire saga? Do you know which one I'm talking about?
Probably the one. What was the one? Empire Strikes Back, maybe?
I thought that was the best one.
Wait.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's the one where he's a kid.
Oh, you're talking about the newer ones.
The newer trilogy of the older saga.
See, I haven't seen all of the newer ones.
Here's a question. Have you gotten Jaxo Mac into Star Wars? Is that a thing that have you gotten to that point?
No, I mean, he's not fully into that. He has not delved into that for sure.
So, Lord of the Rings.
No, he's read those books from school stuff, but he hasn't delved into watching and everything. So
okay.
Watching that. So he's right now he's into Reacher. He's
that's a great one. That's a good one. Reading or watching?
Watching.
Okay, yeah. It's
I saw the Thad Castle. What was that? Blue Mountain State with Thad Castle, same character. Same character.
Yes.
Okay, guys, do I need to go watch that series? Is it worth watching?
Yeah, you would like it, I think.
Okay.
1000%. That is a must watch.
And it's a 20-minute episode that you can kind of just have on, and it's football, and it's just like
it's comedy gold. It is
dumb, like
it's so fun.
Dumb athlete comedy, you know.
Okay.
It would be worth watching. I just watched it, and it's one of those things you can put on in the background and not really, you know, do some fantasy research and watch it at the same time, because you're not going to miss anything important, you know.
Shane, what I find the funniest is you've already watched Reacher, so you've watched this actor in a very serious role, and then now you're going to see him in the complete opposite role of Thad Castle. And I'm jealous because you get to go to that side of things, when I watched Thad Castle first and then watched him mature into a real actor, a big time actor. So I'm curious to see your thoughts.
I'll tell you your thoughts right now. I was also reversed in what I saw
you were
him with.
Yes,
and for me, like Thad Castle was almost like a different character, because he's like he's like pale and skinny, so he's like not even the same actor to me.
Yeah, still jacked though.
Skinny jacked.
Yeah.
He's an absolute house in Reacher, dude.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right.
100 pounds
anyway,
more.
For me, I have been on the full grind mode at work. I started filming a new TV show. Can't talk too much about it. Don't want to get in
94-hour week.
Last week I clocked in 94 hours at work.
Whoa.
So yeah, I'm working hard. Or hardly working, whichever way you want to look at it. But it's a grind, and it's tough. But this is my life for the next 4 to 5 months. So,
but that's why we get some episodes from the truck.
Yeah, that's actually a fun thing. We filmed the Scott Bogman episode based on the Steelers offseason moves, and I recorded that in the back of my truck. We did not mention that on the episode at all. I'm just in a completely different place. Halfway through the episode, it gets really dark.
We talked about it. We talked about it prior to the episode, but
didn't mention it once. So that was fun.
I texted you on the side during that episode. Bogsy, he likes to talk, and at one point I grabbed my phone and texted Truck because his face was just lit up, and I was like, get ready to think of a ghost story, because I'm going to have you tell a ghost story.
And as you said that, I was thinking of a fantasy football ghost story of like, you draft a player and the week 1 he goes down. Just like, anyway, we are here today talking free agency predictions. We're going to kind of go around each position group, talk about not every single free agent, but we're going to talk about the notable ones for fantasy football, the ones that we really care about, leaving off a few. We might mention here some, in a quick way, but that's kind of the gist of it. So, Coles, did you want to kick it off, or you got something else before we get into that?
No, I think Russell Wilson got released today, so he will be on the market. They just said, I'm just going through Twitter. Christian Wilkins, he will not be franchised by the Dolphins. That's an interesting interior lineman that's now going to be on the market. But we're talking fantasy players, so we're going to be strictly offense.
Cole sees Twitter and just his brain just turns to mush, and he just starts.
Because Wilkins could be a bear down.
Yeah, very true.
But I was trying to think of the other news that we just got. Evans, 2 years, 52 mil.
That's a great thing to lead off with. Since we haven't talked about this, T. Higgins got franchise tagged by the Bengals. Mike Evans got extended. What was the contract, Mike? I know you just mentioned it.
I think 252.
52.
Yeah.
So yeah, we got a few updates with the free agency market. That's why we kind of want to get this episode out now. Free agency opens on March 13th. It is coming up. So get ready for some moves to be made. But yeah, let's talk quarterbacks. We got 3 on the slate for today that we're talking about: Kirk Cousins, Baker Mayfield, and Russell Wilson.
Let's talk about real quick. Also, let's talk about who snaps the ball to the quarterback. Jason Kelsey's press conference. Did you get to see any of that, Shane Mac? I know Ryan Truck was working, so he's going to probably watch it in full here later on. But
correct.
I got to see a little bit of it. I'd like to see the full thing if we can figure out how to get the press conference in full. But did you see any of that, Shane?
I saw a couple of the clips. Yeah, not the whole thing, but just a couple.
Tearjerker. For sure. It seemed like there wasn't really a dry eye in the audience, which is really cool. He's just so well spoken and such a huge pillar that not only Philly's his life, right? Like, so many life events happen for him in that city, and he's such a huge part of that organization, that city as a whole. So I don't know. He's a Hall of Famer, first ballot, right?
Absolutely,
for sure.
The best center of all time. So
yeah,
super cool.
Definitely. Shout out to Jason Kelsey. So I'm sure we'll be seeing a lot of him, though. I mean, he is, in the limelight right now. His podcast is one of the number one podcasts in the country, and I'm sure we'll see him on TV a lot. So that'll be fun. I think he's electric on the microphone.
He was interviewing during the combine with Amazon, so I think he'll be there.
Thursdays. Okay.
Thursday team.
All right. Well, anyway, Kirk Cousins, Baker Mayfield, Russell Wilson. Let's start with Kirk Cousins. We see him in the news quite a bit now. Is he going to re-sign with the Vikings? Another competent team that's looking to get him is the Atlanta Falcons. I feel like those two are at the top of the list. Yeah. Did you have a reaction there, Mike? What was
I was laughing at the adjective that you used.
Competent.
The competent. Competent was a really funny way to use an adjective for the Falcons there. I think that I'm just going to dive into Kirk. I think he's going to be a Viking. I think he's the type of I think Kirk Cousins is like the type of just stable person who like is all about loyalty and is going to give the Vikings the first shot and give them, they've done a lot for him. And he's going to hear them out entirely and give them, show them the respect of getting first shot, and they'll get a deal done at the table. Like he doesn't want to, he seems like a real family rooted guy, rooted in faith. He's going to put a lot of thought into this, and it's more than just who's going to give me the most money. It's what is my best situation to win, but also like, my family's here. And I don't know. That's kind of just my impression of Cousins as a person and why I think I could see him staying with the Vikings, as tempting as it will be, because I think Atlanta will throw a lot of money at him.
Yeah, and that's where I'm at too. I'm picking the Vikings with Kirk Cousins, and he came out and said that he has made more money financially than he's ever dreamed was possible. So this next situation for him in the contract, I don't think he's looking for the most money. I think he's, like you mentioned, the system, the situation, and where he wants to play, and I think that's Minnesota. So, you're right. He's a deeply rooted person. So I think his roots are in Minnesota. I think he stays there, and they, once JJ gets extended with Minnesota, that they're gonna be cooking with gas.
Yeah.
I think is Atlanta kind of just playing this like seesaw game? Like, okay, are we gonna which one are we gonna do first? Do we want to try to get a trade for Fields first, or do we want to when the league tampering period opens 2 days prior to free agency, do we want to try to get the Cousins deal done? That's what I'm intrigued by, because I think the interest in Atlanta is genuine. I don't think it's just talk to try to drive down the price for Fields in a trade. I think they know probably with a Kirk Cousins that he could come in, and they probably would be right there with Tampa Bay to win that division. But
they want to turn Drake London into Jordan Jefferson, Pitts into Hawkinson, and Bijan into prime Dalvin Cook. They want, that could be the easy, that could be the tools that he's working with in Atlanta. I think it's from like a win now standpoint, Atlanta would have the edge. That would be the only reason I see him going to Atlanta over Minnesota, is he thinks he has a better shot in the next 3 years to win a Super Bowl there. That being said, like him and Jefferson do have a strong relationship. That division in the North is up for grabs. So, you still have to do some work building some stuff around him, which they may be talking about in free agency, filling the running back room. So I think at least the Vikings will have a plan to lay out in front of Kirk and say, not only are we going to pay you X, this is what we're going to do to build around you. But yeah, I mean, I agree. I don't know that Atlanta's going to have that luxury because I think Fields is going to that deal's going to get done by the end of the week. And the Steelers are the most aggressive team there. So, Atlanta could be in a situation where they miss out on Cousins. He sticks at home. He's a loyal guy. And then the Steelers have already went up and snagged Justin Fields, and then now they're looking at what? Russell Wilson, probably.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. That's the situation I see with Cousins. I think he's a Viking.
Okay.
And I think that Fields deal gets done here in the next week, and I think it's going to be to the Falcons.
Yeah. Well, you talked about the next guy we should talk about is Russell Wilson. A little segue there, and this one was hard for me because he is getting that money from Denver Broncos. They are going to be paying him. So wherever he signs with is probably going to be in the league minimum, which is interesting for a team to take a chance on him. I do personally have the Steelers taking Russell after they lose out on the Justin Fields, probably very similar to what you have two calls, right?
No, actually, that's not. Sorry, I'm playing with a knife. I need to get this away from me.
Okay.
I need something to fidget with, and the closest thing to me was a knife.
Okay, let's maybe put that down.
Pointed at my monitor. Pointed at my monitor. I was like, maybe not. So I think Baker Mayfield's a buck, and then I think this was the one that gets a little dicey for me as Wilson, is because I truly believe that the Steelers they like Pickett and they want to give him a fair shake. Like that Canada, that's just not. He was so bad at LSU, go Tigers, when Coach O brought him in. Like, I don't even understand how he got a job with the Steelers, but that's neither here nor there. I think they like Pickett. They've seen a lot of leadership qualities in him, and think that, giving him a fair shake with hopefully Arthur Smith to kind of win that franchise quarterback role. They've seen, flashes of what they think is that guy. So I do believe that Tannehill goes to the Steelers and they give Pickett at least this year to try to figure it out in a new offense. And then in an offense that fits his style more, right? He doesn't need to throw the ball 50 times a game. They can run the ball, play hard-nosed Steeler football, and him do just enough and, be clutch in the fourth quarter. Things we've seen from him. So I actually think Russell, I think he's going to go very, very long without getting signed by a team. And I think that right now my prediction is going to be that he is going to be a Las Vegas Raider, which does not fit him or his personality at all. He's going to look awful in a Raiders jersey, but I just think they're not going to go in. They can't go into the season with AOC unless they trade up and draft one of these young guys. They're going to be stuck there without anyone. And Russell, that's just where he's going to end up because he's the guy that's going to sell tickets, the guy that can instill any hope into the fan base and let them sell tickets. I don't know. I don't see him and Max Crosby fitting well. I don't see anything about the fit making sense. I just think it's going to come down to, we don't have a quarterback. There's Russell Wilson.
Yeah. Shane, what do you think?
I got a outside the box idea and destination for Russell Wilson. So like you mentioned, he's going to get $39 million from the Broncos. He can take like a 1-year deal for whatever amount, $1 to $3 million. I wonder if he kind of looks at what Baker did last year. So Baker was cast off. Buccaneers picked him up to compete for the job. It wasn't handed to him.
You're not going to say the Patriots, are you?
No, I'm not.
Oh.
And then what did Baker turn that into? He turned that into probably a $30 million deal this offseason he's going to get from the Bucs, I'm betting.
Yeah, we're all on the same page. Baker is staying with the Bucs, right?
So my sleeper team for Russell Wilson is the Cleveland Browns. And why I say that is Deshaun Watson has played 6 games the last 2 years, in each of the last 2 years. He just saw Joe Flacco go to the Browns, come off the couch in week 13, and he threw for 13 touchdowns in 5 games, had success. I just wonder if he thinks about going to a team like that where, he's got an opportunity he doesn't have to step in right away, but he could come in and step in and kind of resurrect his career, at some point in time. And the Browns have interest because I don't think they're bringing Flacco back. So they've seen the last 2 years, they need a decent backup, and they maybe have interest in that also.
Okay, so you think he signs there as a backup, not to compete for the job?
He's not going to compete for the job, but he sees it as the starting quarterback has only made it through 6 games the last 2 years here. This is a stable, playoff-ready team that made the playoffs with 39-year-old Joe Flacco last year.
Yeah.
I love that theory. I don't think it's a long shot, right? You even said it yourself. I think I like that theory working more for a team like potentially the Giants. So if the Giants don't trade up and try to draft a quarterback and they get neighbors in the draft and they sign Saquon Barkley and they're like, can we get a veteran quarterback in here as a safety net in case it doesn't work out very early with Daniel Jones? Let's say they give Daniel Jones that first shot and it's like, they give him a 4-game leash. They're 1-3 and they're like, our season's not over yet. This is why we brought in Russell, and this is why Saquon signed with us a 2-year deal, because we wanted to try to make it work. Something like that I could see as well. It's kind of the same thought process, Shane. But I could see that, whether it's the Browns, that's a team that, has championship qualities on that roster. Look at the defense, look at, it'll be interesting when I don't really know what's up with have we figured anything out there? Is this going to be like a long recovery? I think it's just too early to tell there, but yeah, that's interesting. I like it. That's definitely out of the box.
I mean, it's got a great offensive mind as the head coach there, as a play caller and a coach, which would be, I think, appealing to him also.
Yeah.
The Jets, all right, well, did the Jets do that too?
Yeah,
fits that kind of like him and Rodgers. There's just some. Okay, so I think what we're on agreement is, Shane, that it's going to be something where he kind of gets missed out on by all these first team for these teams at first, and he's going to have to get creative if he wants to be on an NFL roster. And I'm just saying the Raiders because I think that's an easier answer for like scrambling for a quarterback. We have Getsy. We need an upgrade at quarterback. Let's just go and get Russell. Where yours is a little bit more of a in-depth like theory. I don't know. That's interesting. I like it. What were you going to say, Chuck?
Well, I was just going to say, let's move on to the heart and soul of this free agency, the chunk, the meat and potatoes, the running backs. There is a long list of running backs that are free agents. After the market, what we saw in the market over the last couple of years, now you flood the market with talented running backs. So it'll be interesting to see how all the cards fall. I'll list them off. We have Derrick Henry, we have Josh Jacobs, Saquon Barkley, Tony Pollard, Austin Ekeler, Devin Singletary, DeAndre Swift, J.K. Dobbins. The list goes on and on and on. I feel like, you could keep listing off names, but these are the most notable ones we'll be talking about today. And I think one of the biggest ones is Saquon Barkley, right? Is he, out of all of these players that are just listed, he's the most talented, would you guys say?
Yes, by far.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I have him, I am dreaming of this landing is the Houston Texans. It's the talk of the town for Saquon. He came out and talked about it himself. He would love to play for the Texans. I think he's a great fit for that scheme with Slowick and CJ Stroud. And I think that would take that team who improved a lot from everyone's rookie year, that young team. And I think he can really excel them and catapult them into a real contender next year. What do you guys think?
Yeah, Shane, you go ahead.
Yeah, I think I had him going there too. And, what I go back is it's my tie into the head coach and offensive coordinator, right? So D'Amico Ryans and Slowick come from San Francisco. What did they have in San Francisco? They had Christian McCaffrey, a dynamic weapon out of the backfield to create mismatches in the receiving game. I think they view Barkley as that type of weapon. Houston's got the 5th or the 6th most cap space. They could give him the contract that he wants. I know it's chalk to say Houston, but there's just so many things that marry up to make it work.
Yeah. I love how you said my tie.
My tie?
Yeah, you said like your tie is the Slowick or whatever to the you made it sound like the drink Mai Tai.
Okay. All right. It calls us thirsty.
No. So I also I said that really early on. I don't remember what podcast it was on that that would be so interesting to me. So I'm going to do the same and say Saquon to the Texans, but that's kind of hopeful thinking. I also wouldn't mind seeing him stay with the Giants. I just like when teams, he's such a pillar of that franchise for the last however many years. But I think it'll be the Texans. I think they know they have a window right now with Stroud's rookie season that they can afford to pay him, and they will get that done to elevate that offense to the next level, and then kind of let D'Amico do his thing on improving that defense. And then we see ourselves with the Texans in the AFC Championship.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. All right, let's move on to Derrick Henry. Shane, why don't you go ahead and take it away and talk about Derrick Henry?
So I'm just going to get it out of the way. The Dallas Cowboys are not signing Derrick Henry. Don't think about it. It's not happening. Don't even put that as a possibility. It's not going to happen. So, it's funny when you're looking at him last year, like he was so up and down. Like, he still, fantasy wise, he had a pretty good year. I think he was the RB8, but it was just, he only averaged like 68 yards a game. So he was so game script dependent on when they had the lead. That's when he performed well. He's up there in age and mileage. I'm putting him in a spot where he doesn't need to come in and be the 25 carries a game guy. And he's looking to get to a Super Bowl. And so I'm putting him on Buffalo to have with a tandem with James Cook, where he comes in there. He doesn't have to share that. He can share that load. He can be around the 13 carry mark, and he is the goal line option for them. And that lessens a little bit of that burden of Josh Allen that he took on at the goal line last year.
I love that. Just imagining Derrick Henry on the Bills. That is juicy. I do like that. That's not where I have him. I have him going to the Baltimore Ravens. Ravens have the best running game in the NFL. And if you add that to a Derrick Henry, that's just a force to be reckoned with him in Baltimore. And I think they're going to be able to get that done. I would love to see him as a Raven, but equally, I would love to see him as a Bill as well.
Yeah. Shannon Mack, I thought for sure you were going to add about how a friend of yours, a white Russian friend of yours, told you a little bit of a snippet about somehow layering in the Bills there. and you're just going to have another alcoholic beverage layered into your prediction. However, I would love to see him on the Bills. I don't know. He would be like, he's a wet dream for that role, right?
Oh yeah.
That Latavius Murray, Leonard Fournette, that hodgepodge group that they're trying to be that guy. He is the wet dream of that role. So that would be outstanding. I would love it. I love the Bills, love Josh Allen, Joe Brady, obviously. So that would be great. I also think it's going to be the Ravens. I know that's a pretty easy answer, but that's just because I think the fit is so good. I think I can already see him in that jersey, in that black with that black visor, just punishing AFC North defenses. I think that's just as fun to imagine. So I think he's going to be a Raven.
Yeah. Right.
He's going to look so badass in that jersey, dude.
Yes,
imagine him against the Steelers in a night game in Baltimore.
Yeah, that's good. That's a sight to see. Let's move on to Josh Jacobs, free agent right now. And this one, honestly, I feel like could go in a lot of different areas, a lot of different teams. I think most probably he re-signs with the Raiders, but I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I want to see him as a Dallas Cowboy. I think with the Cowboys having issues with Tony Pollard last year, Josh Jacobs can come in and be an every down workhorse for them and be that rushing attack that they need to keep defenses honest. Dallas was throwing the ball a ton last year, and I think with adding Josh Jacobs can really take this offense over the hump. So that's where I have Josh Jacobs going.
I love it. I'd like to hear Shane because I saw him react to it.
Yeah, he shook his head.
It's not happening, guys.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
Jerry doesn't dip into free agency until
but does he not
third week?
But does he not feel that hole from Zeke? He loved Zeke. He loves having an every down running back. So does he not feel like, man, I need that 3 down back. I missed it. They tried to do that last year with Pollard, and then it just didn't work out. I think I could see him saying the missing piece to this offense is a 3 down back. Fuck it. I'm going to write that check. So I know historically what you mean by that, but if he thinks he has a win now team and an offense that's ready, and he knows what he had with Zeke and he loved it, let me go get that this year in free agency and solve that problem. That's the only thing that makes me think there's a possibility of him landing in Dallas.
The only big free agent signings they do is their own internal guys. It's just a matter of fact. The only hole that he's going to be filling is glory hole. Jerry always talks about it. I don't know if you've ever seen that quote. He's like, I love that glory hole. That glory hole is really nice. With this team here, we gotta get back to that glory hole. So that's the only thing you hear Jerry spout off about. We'll get into a little bit at the end of the running backs, the people he may touch upon for running backs, but he's not going to Dallas. I've got Josh Jacobs not coming back to Oakland. I think Pierce sees what Zamir White did those last 4 games, which was pretty good. He averaged 24 touches a game. He was averaging 115 yards in that. I think he realizes he can go with him and maybe another guy that they draft or bring in. I actually have Jacobs going to the Ravens. And my thought process is I think they could lose J.K. Dobbins. They could lose Gus Edwards. They've got Keaton Mitchell coming off of an ACL tear. So in my mind, I think they may want to lean on somebody that could come in and handle that 20-25 touch load and's got a little bit better receiving capability in a Todd Monken offense. And to me, that's more Josh Jacobs at age 26 that would be nice to fit in there as opposed to Henry.
Yeah.
Okay. I can see that. What do you got, goals for Jacobs?
So I also do not have Josh Jacobs as a Dallas Cowboy. However, I do think that Jerry has dipped more than just his toe in a glory hole in his days. However, I think that Josh Jacobs, I want to see him as a Bear Don Chicago Bear.
That's I love that.
I think that if you can, my new perfect world as a hopeful Bear fan is drafting Caleb, getting the trade done with Fields, drafting whatever that is, drafting Caleb, drafting Neighbors at 9. There's some rumors that Rome has jumped him now since the combine, so maybe Neighbors becomes available at 9, so you get your Caleb and Neighbors, and then you're sitting there, you sign Curtis Samuel to I don't think you have to go spend a crazy amount on him and get him paired up with DJ Moore, his boy from back in Charlotte. And then you go ahead while you have Caleb on that rookie deal, you spend at the running back position. That's not something that, they need that they need to do once Caleb gets a big contract. But right now, while you can afford to put some people around him in this win now rookie window, why not go ahead and solidify your offense with Jacobs? To me, that offense would be, young, but championship win now on someone that they could lean on. And a veteran back like Jacobs, who's already carried teams. So I just think that would be the kind of fit to take that offense to the next level. And then you trust Flus, just like we talked about with the Texans. Saquon's that final piece that takes the offense to the next level. Trust in D'Amico Ryans to get that defense prepared to not only go to playoffs, but the AFC Championship. Same thing with the Bears. Add that Josh Jacobs piece to the offense, take the offense to the next level, and then trust in Flus to get that defense. We saw what he did at the end of the year last year. And you're off to the races. So that's, to me, would be an awesome fit for the Bears, and hopefully it gets done.
I would be thrilled if that happened. I don't know. I don't want to get my hopes up, but I love that. Let's talk about the next guy, Tony Pollard. Shane, I'm curious to where you think Tony Pollard's going, because you're the Cowboys guy. Him coming from the Cowboys, do you think he stays with the Cowboys, that he re-signs? Or where would you like to see him go? Where do you think he's going to go?
So I think I've got two options for Pollard. And he was awful like the first 11 weeks, but he said a lot of that was because of the injury. I think there's a possibility he does come back to Dallas if he's willing to take, and I don't think the Dallas offers more than this. If he's willing to take 1 year for $4 or $5 million, I think that's where Dallas caps off at. I don't know if he'll take that. If he doesn't want that, the other team I think could come into play for him, and maybe offers him a 3-year deal, kind of like Miles Sanders got last year, which was kind of around that $25 million deal. I could see maybe the Eagles coming in, offering that. It's a DeAndre Swift replacement, and he reunites with Kellen Moore as his offensive coordinator.
Yeah, I was going to say the Eagles would be the only thing outside of Dallas. It's either going to be the Eagles letting Swift go and thinking of Pollard as just a better option at this point in his career there. Or I just think the easy answer is he's going to re-sign with the Cowboys. And then they're going to draft someone that they're hopeful will be a better option than Dowdle. Otherwise, Pollard Dowdle is what they're going to run it back with. But, I definitely think they take a shot or two in the running back room in the draft and somehow get a deal done with Pollard to keep him in Dallas.
Okay. I picked a little out of the box here. Okay. This pick right here. Bear with me.
Did you just bear with you for any reason there?
Bear with me. No, I don't think he comes to Chicago. That's not my pick. I think he goes to the Chargers. Replace Austin Ekeler with a younger kind of version of himself, a pass catcher who's looked good in spurts. They definitely need a running back if Austin Ekeler isn't coming back, and I think Tony Pollard could fit nicely with Harbaugh and the new look of the Chargers. What do you guys think about that?
I don't think it's Pollard. I do, but I think he's in play because I think the Chargers are going to get someone, and I just don't know who it's going to be. You'll hear my guess later on, and that's probably a shot in the dark on that, who's going to end up in that backfield. So I don't hate that you threw a dart with Pollard going there. I think it's going to be a surprising back for the Chargers that we end up seeing. But Shane, what do you think?
Yeah, I think, that's Harbaugh is all about physicality, and I think they're going to be running the ball more. So I think it's two guys. It's going to be somebody in free agency. It's Pollard or somebody. And I think it's somebody within the first 3 rounds that they draft in the NFL draft for sure. So
I'd love to see Jonathan Brooks there.
Oh yeah.
Just from like a full tool. We've seen him, run the ball 25 times for Texas this last year. I think he would fit well there.
Yeah. And if he had not gotten hurt, he'd be the standalone RB1, right?
He'd be a first rounder, I think.
Yeah.
So yeah, who else do you think, Shane?
What?
If Pollard doesn't go there.
No, you're saying there you thought of 2 options for the Chargers?
Oh, it's going to be they're going to bring in. It's going to be a free agency guy. I'm not sure if it's Pollard. It's going to be 2 guys. I think.
Is your pick to come still?
There's a guy. Yeah, I think there is a guy that's on the fringe.
Okay.
All right.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that.
It's interesting, Truck. I think I just don't think it's going to be Pollard because of. He wasn't like in Coach Harbaugh's perfect world. Barkley is the guy he gets, right? Like the guy that he can have come in and just spearhead the entire offense. Now that doesn't exist.
30 carries.
So that's what he's going to try to get is that guy. And I'm looking at the list and it's like, who is that going to be? Like Dobbins, if he didn't get injured the last 5 years, So, I don't know. I would almost put like a Singletary if Barkley goes to the Texans, someone that had success last year running the ball a lot. I don't know. I think it's going to be someone weird that we don't think of. But yeah, I don't know. I don't hate the fact that you threw a dart with Pollard to be there because it's going to be someone like that.
The more we talk about it, the less confident I am in that pick. So let's move on to Austin Ekeler.
But you never know because he could go with a 2-headed monster like Pollard and then get that. I forget his name from Notre Dame.
Audric Estime,
bring in Estime and have Pollard. You never know. So.
All right. Well, like I said, let's move on to Austin Ekeler. Since I was just talking about the Chargers and Austin Ekeler, I have another dart throw here. This is a fun pick for me. I saw this. I was contemplating. I'm like, all right, where would he go? I don't know. And my pick is the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, hear me out.
Wow.
Jerick McKinnon is getting older, and he's a free agent. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, free agent. The only running back you guys really have right now is Isaiah Pacheco. He's a hard runner. He's a, he's a brunt force running back. Why not pair him up with one of the best pass catchers the running back position has seen in quite some time? He broke records for the Chargers with his pass catching ability, and the Chiefs need help in that division with catching the ball. So I think that's kind of a great fit. Austin Ekeler is getting older. You don't need him to carry the ball as much as he was in the Chargers. And I think with the Chiefs, that's just a match made in heaven for me. And that was a real fun pick to make as I was envisioning Austin Ekeler on the Chiefs.
It's interesting. I like it. Jerick McKinnon, getting older. I just looked. He's 31. I wouldn't necessarily call that old, but he, like you said, I would have worded it the same way as you. Is McKinnon's old and out of the league.
Yeah.
That shocked me that he was only 31, but there's no way he plays meaningful football for anyone else. I feel like
I doubt it. Yeah. I doubt it.
So I would have phrased it the same way. I'm not saying that was the 31 shocked me when I saw that because he feels like he's done.
Yeah.
But yeah, Chiefs Ekeler is interesting. Where do you have him, Shane?
I don't hate it, especially if he's willing to take like a 1-year deal for chase a ring. I don't hate it at all. I kind of had the same thought process when you were giving Jacobs to the Bears. I had the same process with Ekeler. I got Ekeler going to Chicago. Give Caleb Williams that safe outlet receiving out of the backfield option to dump off passes. They could easily Herbert is a free agent next year, so they could easily cut him with no cap damage or anything. And you bring in Ekeler, and it's Ekeler and Roschon Johnson as the duo, and Ekeler, Caleb Williams, neighbors at receiver, and you're off and running to the playoffs.
Yeah, as someone who is hopeful that he's a Bears fan again this year, I would not want to see Ekeler, the shell of Austin Ekeler, be the guy that's supposed to add pop to our offense. He would be a cheaper version than Jacobs, I will say, but
yeah,
I don't want him. I don't like what I saw last year. I kind of think I don't think he's done, but I don't want him on a young offense.
As I was making this list, I did have the Bears written down for him at one point, and I thought to myself, I don't want that. Like, if I showed you my list, he's the first. The Bears are the first name written down, and then the Chiefs, and I like the Chiefs more. But as I wrote down the Bears, I'm like, I don't know how I'd feel about that. Like,
I wouldn't like it at all.
No.
So in that. Fuck you, Shane. I have Ekeler going to the Cowboys. I'm kidding. No, I'm kidding. I don't. Boys. I have a boring pick for him, and like, I don't even. It's gross. I have Ekeler going to the Broncos, and I just think
gross.
I just think like. I think the Broncos are gonna like draft JJ McCarthy, and I don't like that either, but. They're going to try to bring in a sexy, running back, like what they thought P. Ryan would be, a sexy running back, but just bring in a washed up Ekeler to play that like Javonte, staggered Javonte role, but think that they're bringing in, a good veteran with JJ. I don't know. I really don't love that pick, but I think I could see the Broncos knowing they're in a pretty bad situation, just swinging and missing now twice in a row. That Russell Wilson swing and a miss is so bad. So they're going to try to do something to kind of to try to cover that up, and it's going to be draft a young, exciting, what they think is an young, exciting quarterback, and then bring in a big name like Ekeler to the offense and try to instill some hope in the fan base that way. I don't think it works. I think they're going to be a bad football team next year.
Yeah. I mean, they've got to take on $85 million of dead cap hit for Russell Wilson. I mean, they're going to have to do some major restructuring of deals.
Yeah, I don't know.
Just made Sean Payton's road much harder. It's tough. All right, let's move on to DeAndre Swift. I'll keep mine really short and sweet. I think he's going back to the Eagles. I don't really have much analysis here. I think he re-signs with the Eagles. He had one of his best seasons with them, and I think he's not with all the running backs that are available. I don't think he's going to be able to get what he wants to get on another team, and I think he goes back to Philadelphia. What do you got, Coles?
I want to pass it over to Shane O'Mac.
Which he's only, do you realize, like when I looked up Swift, like he's only 25. He feels like he's like 28 or 29 for some reason.
It's like that Joe Mixon, right? Joe Mixon feels like he's 30 already. He's only 26.
I couldn't believe that he's only 25. I was like, that's crazy. And it's not like 25 with a lot of mileage. Like he's not been carrying a huge workload, whether it was in Detroit or with Philadelphia.
Yeah, he looked really good this year too.
He looked great. It was like one of his best rushing years that he had.
Healthy too.
He was healthy. I think he was had over 70% of their rush attempts for the team. So I've got him going and reuniting with an old college teammate. I've got him going to Cleveland, and help fill that void until Nick Chubb is ready. Take a little bit off of your guy.
Ford.
Yeah, Jerome Ford. I don't think I think one thing, I think Chubb is going to be out, I would say at least half the season is what I'm guessing. And I don't think Cleveland wants Jerome Ford carrying a workload. Kareem Hunt's not going to be back. He's a free agent. So I think Swift, to me, makes for a great slide into that role. He can run with some physicality, which they'll like that in Cleveland. So I've got him going there.
Okay.
That is an interesting one as well. I am between two teams, which I don't know why I'm kind of here.
You tilted?
But no, actually. I think that I think he looked great for the Eagles, and I think he was on his way to having an outstanding season if they didn't just completely implode, which they did.
Oh, yeah.
So I think that kind of hindered him a little bit, but I could see him either going to the Washington. I'm just going to say the Commanders. I think he's going to be on the Commanders. They just need to do something as well. They're going to bring in a young quarterback. They're going to need to add weapons around him. Gibson's gone. Bring in Swift, have him be that complement to Robinson, who I was definitely hand up I'm wrong about. I'm going to fade him again this year, I think. So, fuck Brian Robinson. But I think they're going to bring in Swift. They need someone in that offense in the running back room. And I just think they're going to be able to, saw what they liked from him last year in division and just take him away, pay him a little bit more than the Eagles are willing to, and take him away from the Eagles.
Okay. I can see that for sure. Let's move on to Devin Singletary. Devin Singletary actually played really well for the Texans last year once he came in for that bum Dameon Pierce. I have a fun pick here. It's kind of fun because when I wrote this down, I was really thinking about it. I'm like, hey, this could be a thing, and it's the Minnesota Vikings.
Vikings.
Yeah, Minnesota Vikings. I think Ty Chandler played well when he came in and had to run the ball the way he did, and I think Singletary would give them a nice 1-2 punch with him and Chandler, kind of 50-50 split there. Shane, what do you think about that?
Yeah,
speaking of bums, though, Cam Akers is there as well.
Okay, all right.
He's a free agent too. I thought you were going to say. I thought for sure, Coles, you were going to say. Speaking of bums, remember Shane O'Mac when you were so high on Alexander Madison?
No,
I thought you were just going to call me out on that.
No.
My worst fantasy take of the year of 2023.
Yeah, I was on the exact opposite side.
Hey, you, so Shane, to make you feel better, it's not as bad as my worst take of the 2023 season, which was Miles Sanders. So I think I got you beat there.
Yeah, that's pretty close. Yeah.
I don't know, Truck. This was a very long shot take of yours, but I still got it out of your mouth and we shook hands on a bet with it. You had Jacoby Brissett starting more games than Sam Howell.
That was just a fun hot take. That was just a fun hot take in the lieu of Geno Smith and
this year's Geno Smith. Yeah.
Anyway, let's not talk about bad takes from the 2023 season.
No.
Shane,
Fantasy Confessions is happening. That is a segment that is going to be happening for this season too. Fantasy Confessions is going to be outstanding, and we will all be in the confessional booth, and there will be penances for each of our sins. So
yes, indeed. Shane, talk to me about Singletary.
I think so. What I'm assuming, we assuming Saquon is gone from New York. So I was thinking maybe Singletary is one of two guys that comes into New York as a pass catching back that has that ability with Daniel Jones or whoever. I've got him coming in on there like on a 1-year deal.
I could see it. Definitely.
Yeah, I actually have the same. So I don't really have much else to add. I was going to put him with the Titans because I think they are going to have to. I don't think Spears is an every down back. So trying to figure out who's going to fit in there, but I as well have Singletary at the Giants.
Okay. Let's talk about J.K. Dobbins. Okay.
Yeah.
And Bowles, you just had a comment how you don't know who's going to fit in with the Titans. I think that's J.K. Dobbins. I think J.K. Dobbins goes to the Tennessee Titans and is paired up with Tyjae Spears, and he gets a chance to kind of redeem himself after a injury-riddled career.
Yeah, I'll put him with the Vikings. I don't have much to add. To me, he could just be like someone that they throw, take a shot on.
Like a Cam Akers.
Yeah, and I do love Dobbins. I just think at this point he is damaged goods, unfortunately. Too many injuries.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I have a hard time seeing him go to Tennessee. So now you've got both of your running backs has questionable knees. I mean, don't forget Tyjae Spears has got he doesn't have a meniscus in both knees or something weird like that.
Yeah, something weird like that.
I don't know what it is. They got to bring somebody in, but he's not going to be my choice to be brought in with Spears.
Okay.
Mine's probably Gus Edwards. We didn't necessarily going to talk about it. Say we were going to talk about
That's interesting.
But to me, it's going to be Gus. They need that Gus Bus type guy. Poor man's Derrick Henry. Not saying he's even close to that, but like a power back that'll get you, an early down few yards and then bring Spears in. So that's who I probably am going to have pegged for the Titans. But anyways, who do you have, JK? Shano Max going to have a fun one here. I can just sense it.
I think JK I didn't honestly come up with anybody because he's so hard for me to gauge right now, with that knee injury and where he is going to be. I don't know if he gets signed right away in free agency with the uncertainty of the knee.
Well, we're playing predictions, Shano Max. So you're either taking a loss on this
plant
one,
your flag, damn it,
or you're throwing a fucking dart. So
plant your flag.
I am.
Gun to your head.
I will put him with Tampa Bay then, because there is talk. As good as White was last year, I loved him. I loved him for fantasy. For some reason, they are talking a lot in Tampa Bay about bringing somebody in to help lessen that load. So if that's the case, it's a 1 year kind of prove it deal on your knee. He doesn't have to come in right away then and have a lot of touches with White there. Okay. There's my effing flag playing it. Are you happy?
All right. I'm happy.
Yeah.
I'm happy.
Okay. We are.
I'll take it. All right. We can just talk about these other quickly. We have Antonio Gibson, Zach Moss. Did you guys have any other names that you wanted to bring up in this last little group?
No, I want to say that Gibson is who I would like with the Chargers. Gibson and drafting a guy. I just wouldn't mind seeing him get an opportunity to kind of reignite what he once had for the Commanders. I don't know how I've come around on wanting to like Antonio Gibson. I think that's one of the sicknesses that you gave me, Truck, in our conversation.
That was me.
Yeah.
I was always a big Gibson guy early on, ever since he was drafted. So, a bit of a rough start. So,
but having that, being that guy that can run the ball and then I just feel like he looks good, and he would look good in that baby blue, and he's got. He is. I don't know why I think that. So I think he could be a fun.
I have a visitor. Just
what's up in your face?
What's up, dude? I'm trying to do an episode here. I have Antonio Gibson to the Raiders. I don't have much to say there. I just think he could be a good fit with Zamir White.
Yeah, they'll bring in somebody real quick. My only two guys, I think, were the Chargers, where I teased it earlier. I think they're going to bring in some sort of physical back and pair him with, whether if it's a homer pick like Corum that he picks from Michigan, or
I could see that
Benson or something. But I think it's either, I could see like a Zach Moss or an AJ Dillon going to the Chargers to kind of bring a little bit more physicality there.
Okay. I actually have, you bring up AJ Dillon. I got Zach Moss going to the Packers. Bringing in one of the most productive number twos on their team with Zach Moss, with what he did last year. The Packers have been looking for a number two to change of pace with Aaron Jones, and I think Zach Moss could be a nice fit with the Packers.
Yeah, they'll have to bring somebody in, I think.
Yeah.
If I have to plant a flag for Moss, I'll just say the Raiders.
Okay.
Because they don't have anyone.
Throwing darts. All right, let's jump to wide receivers. I know this episode is getting a little long, but we're having fun talking NFL free agency. This is
we're on pace. It's fine.
Okay. All right. So for wide receivers, as we talked about in the beginning of the episode, we saw Higgins get franchise tagged. So he's off the table, and we saw Mike Evans re-signed with the Buccaneers. So I was really hoping to see Mike Evans on another team. That would have been a lot of fun with the Chiefs or whatnot, but no need to talk about that anymore. Let's talk about Calvin Ridley, Hollywood Brown, Michael Pittman, Gabe Davis, Curtis Samuel. Let's start with Ridley. Coles, why don't you kick it off with Calvin Ridley, where you think he's going to go?
Let's just pass this one over to Shane.
I like it.
Let's pass it over. All right. Ridley was up and down last year, but, he still put up over 1,000 yards. I think he had 8 or 9 touchdowns.
He did. Yeah.
He is. I will stand by it. He's an elite route runner. Like you can line him up in any of the wide receiver positions, whether it's a slot or outside. I think he is going to a team that is desperate for offensive weapons, and I've got him going to the Patriots. I think the Patriots are taking one of those quarterbacks from the first-round pick, and they need a guy that can be kind of a somewhat number one. He's kind of a 1A maybe. So he comes to New England, who's already been talking about, wanting to spend money in free agency.
Yeah, that to me seems very probable. Patriots was one of the first names I wrote down when thinking about Calvin Ridley. But I personally went with a different route, and I think it's going to be the Panthers. I think them really wanting to sign T. Higgins, losing out on that race because he's re-signed he got franchise tagged. I think they go after Calvin Ridley, an elite route runner, to try to help Bryce Young kind of take another step in the NFL. So I think Ridley could really help that team. Coles, what do you think?
I don't know. I really don't know. I guess I'm just gonna go. I thought about both of the Patriots and where does he gonna go? I thought about the Patriots. I also thought about the Panthers. I think I'm gonna go with the Titans. I just think that I just don't think Hopkins is their number one, and they really want that. That's something that they feel like they've been missing. So I don't necessarily know what's Hopkins' situation. Do they have him for next year? He was on a 1-year deal, right?
Yeah, I believe he was on a 1-year deal.
I think he was too. So I think Hopkins is gone. He's not a wide receiver one anymore, and they want to bring in a weapon for Levis. So that's going to be Ridley. To be honest, I really like the Patriots and I like the Panthers, but I think he's someone that we're close. I'm just going to go ahead and say that Pittman's going to be a Colt. Evans went back to the Bucks, Higgins back to the Bengals. So Titans are a team that we're hoping to get one of those guys as well. Now you have, Panthers, Patriots, Titans, a group of teams that feel desperate to land one of these guys. And I just I think they're in the mix. So I'm going to put them there.
Sorry, I misspoke. Sorry. He was signed to a 2-year deal. He's got a $5 million roster bonus coming up here in the next 10 days, so they can make a decision on cutting him. But he did sign a 2-year.
Okay. I think he'll stay and get the bonus. Let me throw in another name for Calvin Ridley. What would you guys gauge the probability on the Kansas City Chiefs? Because with their situation this past year, we all saw dealing with drops and stuff. MVS is out. They really don't have an answer at wide receiver other than Rashee Rice. And they're clearly going to be drafting one in the draft pretty early. We all know that. But can they go after a free agent? And on the list, there's not many great ones now that Higgins is gone, now that Evans is gone. So I think Calvin Ridley is a possibility for the Chiefs. What do you guys think?
No, I think they're going to go to the draft, and it's going to be Rice and whoever they draft there. I would love to see Xavier Worthy as a
that's going to be that'll be my prediction for the draft is Worthy going to the Chiefs.
Yeah.
After they saw that 40 time, you kidding me?
Mm-hmm.
Chiefs are just salivating to take him.
Yeah. That's just that. Yeah. So I have. So I just don't know that they'll go spend free agency money and first round capital on a wide receiver.
Okay.
Yeah. And they've got so much money they need to spend on defense.
They just showed that they could win a Super Bowl with nothing around.
Yeah.
Very good point there, Cole. Very good point. They just won a Super Bowl with a terrible wide receiving core. You're absolutely right. Well, what about Hollywood Brown? Hollywood Brown, is he going to stay with the Cardinals? Shane, what do you think is your prediction for Marquise Hollywood Brown?
So I think I view Hollywood as like a step below Ridley. He's got that high end speed. He can play multiple spots too. He's got explosiveness. So much like you were thinking with Ridley, I was thinking the same thing of going to Carolina, because that's a team that needs and is desperate for some weapons. They do not have any down the field or run after the catch guys. You've got Mingo and Thielen and Chark. They need somebody that's got some explosiveness. They've got, I think it's over 35 million in cap space. I think that's where I had him going, was Carolina.
Okay. And now, Coles, I have a feeling you're going to give us a very logical answer right now. Just put your glasses on. Give us what's going to happen with Hollywood logically.
I just sniffed some alcohol. I actually also have the Panthers. And to me, that's just such a Hollywood move too, is for whatever reason, I get the impression with him that he doesn't really care about winning. He likes being in the NFL and making money. Mm-hmm. And I think that just fits well with that Carolina team, who's trying too hard to land these free agent, these just free agent splashes with what they did with Sanders. And then I think they're going to do the same with Hollywood, and he's going to underwhelm as well. Okay. So I don't know. I have him there.
I have a fun one. You guys play a little game with me and imagine this for a second. Hollywood Brown to the Buffalo Bills. They get their number 2 receiver that they've been trying to lock in over the last couple of years. Gabe Davis is out. Insert Hollywood Brown with Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, Dalton Kincaid, and James Cook. I think Hollywood Brown would be a great fit as a number 2 and play all over the field for the Buffalo Bills. I think that would be incredibly fun.
Yeah. I don't know how that money works. I don't know if money's real in the NFL, so they could probably figure out a way to make it work. Yeah. But I mean, Emmanuel Sanders was a Bill at one time. Remember that? Kind of is a little bit, to me, better version of that, of what Sanders was there. So that could be interesting. I would love it for the Bills. Any Bills additions, I'm all for. I just don't want him to overpay for Hollywood, and I just made a take that I don't really think he cares about winning, so I don't know that he's going to take a pay cut. But that's, if he wants to win, that's a great spot for him to ball out and have a huge impact on that team.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right, let's move on to some lesser names on this list. Let's talk about Gabe Davis, since I was just talking about Buffalo. Gabe Davis. Now, I know I was just talking about Ridley possibly going to the Chiefs, right? If they can't get that done and they want to go to the draft, what about bringing in a guy like Gabe Davis? That would really be a very good deep threat for Patrick Mahomes. Gabe Davis, he had tons of deep ball catches from Josh Allen. Do you guys even think that's a possibility?
Yeah, but that's because there's Diggs on the other side of the field, and if that doesn't exist, I agree he's a better deep threat than MVS, but maybe, I don't know. I really don't even know what to do with Gabe Davis.
I think he'd be pretty cheap, wouldn't he? He's not going to require too much of a contract. I think they'd be able to sneak that in there to improve their overall wide receiver room.
So our wide receivers is going to be so top heavy in contracts. Then do we think that the top guys are going to cost this $30 million number that we're seeing, 26 for Mike Evans, and then these just mid receivers are going to get hit in value? Is that what we're going to see? Maybe I could see that.
I think so.
but I don't know. So I'm interested what Shane has here. I don't have an answer quite yet.
Yeah, I don't think I don't think he's going to cost them money. The guys we've talked about, like I think the only guy that's going to cost a lot of money is going to be Ridley, and I just think that's just because of scarcity. Like he is the only pseudo wide receiver one now left on the market,
and those guys just missed out with everyone going back to their teams. Pittman, Evans, and so do you agree then, Shane? You think the wide receiver market is going to be very top heavy?
Yeah, I think so. I'm just looking here at Spot Track, and they've got him estimated at a $13 million salary. So, you're
how
looking
much?
At $13 million.
That's a lot. I feel like.
So yeah, so they're kind of basing that off of, we saw Christian Kirk average out at 18 million. Michael Gallup was at 11.5. Oof, what a freaking swing and miss that was.
Yep.
So I think 13, you could see that come around there. I had Gabe Davis, and I could see a team spending 13 million on him, is the New York Giants. So desperate for kind of a big body wide receiver. They were known last year as like slot wide receiver. That's all they were bringing in was slot wide receivers or drafting slot wide receivers. So let's bring in somebody that could be a good complement to grow Jalen Hyatt in this next year in year 2. That's a team I had him going to.
I'll stay there and I'll go Jets. I think Lazard is just an absolute like, what does he even do without Rodgers kind of thing? And that's a way to upgrade that position is put in Gabe Davis. Not that they're the same type of receiver, but that's a team who missed out on Rodgers last year and is going to want to make up for it this year. And I could just see the Jets saying like, whatever, we'll throw some money at someone like Gabe Davis.
Mm-hmm.
I have the Jets taking somebody else, Odell Beckham Jr. He's going to go play for Aaron Rodgers.
Oh my goodness.
That's going to happen. That's going to happen.
Is he going to even play football? Like, he's dating Kim Kardashian. He'll be like on the Chargers or not even their practice squad. Yeah, I mean, bright lights out in New York. I could see that. I don't want to talk about Odell. I fuck him. I don't like him.
All right. Well, what about Curtis Samuel?
That's who I have. I have him as a Bear. Yeah, I have him as a Bear. I love him as a Bear. I love him with DJ Moore. He's the godfather to DJ Moore's kid. I think he is an awesome wide receiver 3. So I would love him to be a Chicago Bear. Which means, Mooney's gone, where that's someone else I think is worth talking about. If you want to throw a dart at where does Darnell Mooney go?
I've erased him from my player memory. So you guys talk about him.
Shane can take him.
All right. So, well, first of all, Samuel, I had something interesting for Samuel and see what you guys think if I'm too outside the box again. What about coming in because he's kind of been a team's wide receiver 3 basically is what he's been.
Yeah.
So what about coming in as the wide receiver 3 with somebody who would actually use him in creative ways, more rushing opportunities that he was getting in Washington? How about Mike McDaniel and the Miami Dolphins?
I would love that.
Coming in there, you really utilizing his talents, which to really maximize a guy like that, like you need to use him in creative ways. I feel.
Yeah, you bring that up makes me think he would be a great fit there, and that's probably one of the better landing spots for him as a player. He probably has a better year on the Dolphins than he would Bears.
Yeah, I love that. And now a situation where I think he could go. I don't think he will because I think they like what they have there in Tyreek, Waddle, and Wilson, and the other million weapons they have. So, maybe cut Claypool. I just think you're going to add him now to that Wilson mix too. I don't know. That seems pretty crowded. I could see him going somewhere like the Saints thinking that they need to bring someone in to fit that they can just get the ball to a lot in creative ways. That seems to me like it would be a team that he would go to and not do very well because of how much they're going to ask him to do and how bad I think the Saints probably will be with Derek Carr. But that's somewhere I could see them thinking, basically acquiring him to play a bigger role than he has, which is certainly something I could see happen.
Yep.
I
think that wraps it up for wide receivers.
Yeah, but you haven't given us a Mooney pick.
I'm not going to.
Okay.
No.
All right.
He is good as done, in my opinion. So anyway,
what about Velus Jones?
Velus Jones. It's Velus Jones season,
well,
baby.
We did talk about Braxton Berrios.
Yeah,
we didn't talk about Tyler Boyd. We didn't talk about Michael
where Alex Earl will end up.
Yeah, the Braxton Berrios has got multi-layers to it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, as a quick roundup, I think Tyler Boyd goes to the Titans. I think Michael Thomas goes to the Broncos, reunites with Sean Payton. Those
I like that.
Would be interesting to me.
like
Titans, a blah team making a blah signing, and Tyler Boyd just blah.
Yeah, I don't have anything for those guys, so
that's fine. All right, let's talk tight ends. It's going to be very brief. There's not
Schultz.
many. Yeah, but Dalton Schultz. Who's the other one I was talking about, Shane, earlier? Patriots. I can't think of his name right now.
Hunter Henry.
Hunter Henry is a free agent as well. But Dalton Schultz, I think he stays with the Texans. I think he was a great fit there, and I think he's an intricate part of that offense. He had a decent connection with C.J. Stroud, and personally, I think they need him back.
Yeah, it's chalk, but I'm the same way. I just don't see him going anywhere. They've got the cap space to re-sign him to he's going to come in. I think probably maybe a little bit over what he got last year with his last deal with them, which I think was like $10 million. So he probably comes in at like $11 million 2-year deal, averaging $11 million a year.
Yeah,
and they've got the cap room to make it happen.
Yeah. Yep. Coles, do you have a differing opinion than Shane and I? Do you think he's going other places than the Houston Texans? Coles, are you there? Is your screen frozen?
I think we lost him.
I think his power might went up. Yep, there he goes.
There he goes.
All right. Well, we'll talk for a little bit, and maybe he comes back on before we sign off. I don't want to just end the episode, and then he comes back on and oh, wait.
Yeah.
So we'll give him a minute. But yeah, Shane, I think this was a lot of fun talking free agents. Predictions. It's one of my favorite parts about the offseason, trying to figure out where everyone's going to land. But I'm afraid that the sad truth is the highest probability is most of these players are going to re-sign with their team. You know, Josh Jacobs is probably going to go back to the Raiders. There's a very good chance Ekeler is back with the Chargers. It's fun speculating new landing spots for all these players, but they're not all going to be on new teams. You know what I mean? There's a lot of them are going to end up on the same teams. And it won't be as fun as we envision. Yeah,
the running backs is what really concerns me the most. We've got great guys out there for fantasy purposes to talk about, but I am concerned that could happen. And that we've already saw with Evans. I think we'll see it.
No, realistically, dude. Barkley's talking about going to the Texans, but there's a good chance he just goes back to the Giants. Jacobs, Pollard, Ekeler, Swift. There's so many of these players we talked about that are just probably going to be on the same team, and it just won't be as fun.
Yeah, definitely. I think the only somewhat big guy you see for sure is Ridley goes to a different team because
I don't know. I saw a lot about him staying with the Jags.
Well, the only thing that makes me think I read about this, so it was so weird in the contract, the way it was written up. So if the Jags keep him, and when they made that trade, if he stays on the Jags roster, they re-sign him, the third rounder that they owe Atlanta this year becomes a second rounder. So that may be
a little more incentive.
Yeah, that may be some incentive not to re-sign him if they just don't want to give up that first round pick.
Hey, he's back. Culls, did you lose power, buddy? What's going on?
Yeah. Yeah, kind of.
I was just talking to Shane just to clue you in. As fun as this episode was, picking landing spots for everybody, the sad truth is the majority of the guys we talked about are probably going to re-sign with their teams. A lot of them. It's the truth. Jacobs, Barkley, Pollard, Ekeler, all four of those guys very likely to stay with the teams that they were on last year.
Nah, Now let's have some fun. I think Schultz, my Schultz pick. That's where we left off. Where I was.
Yes.
I could see him being a Patriot. You talked about Ridley coming in. The Patriots wanting to spend some money. I could see them being a team that offers him a little bit, a little bit more money than the Texans are willing to, bringing in Barkley, and him kind of being the exact thing that he was for the Texans, that veteran guy that's sure-handed, that bring in a rookie quarterback that you want to, have, that veteran stable presence in the huddle. So I think I could see Schultz being a Patriot. He'd be a good Patriot too.
Yeah, Patriots have $91 million of cap space.
Yes, after they release J.C. Jackson, they have the most cap space in the entire NFL.
Yeah,
so they're going to do something with that. We'll see what Gerard Mayo and that new regime has up their sleeve. But yeah, Dalton Schultz was able to help a rookie and C.J. Stroud, and probably a rookie quarterback in New England, and could help him too over there. So I like that, Coles.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Well, do you guys have any closing thoughts? I know Shane and I had a few closing thoughts, but Coles, you got anything?
Shane O'Mac was talking about explosions. He was talking about loads. He was
glory
talking
holes.
About glory holes, and Truck had pussy in his face. So it was definitely an interesting free.
And you mentioned wet dreams twice. I've got it written down. 2 wet dream mentions.
Okay.
But I think I mentioned. I think I mentioned wet dream twice in the same reference, right?
It still counts as twice.
Yeah, I tell you, I enjoy having guests on, but getting back to the roots with you boys, it's been fun.
Oh, it's great.
It's
almost as good as a wet dream.
Almost as good as a wet dream. You never know. All right. All right. Well, I want to thank everybody for watching, listening, clicking on the video. Please subscribe to the channel. It really helps us out. Check us out on all the socials at Fantasy Roadshow. Check out the Substack, thefantasyroadshow.substack.com. And of course, this episode is brought to you by Rule 1 Proteins. Go check them out. They got some great stuff. www.rule1proteins.com. You guys know how it goes. All right. Well, other than that, you guys know what to do. Coles, do you have any interruptions? You gonna interrupt me this time?
Yeah. Wait. One more.
Wait, before we sign off.
Before we sign off.
No, honestly, I'm.
All right, great. Buckle up, everybody.